Thousands of years ago, if you had excess grain and your neighbor had salt, you made a trade. It was a practical, physical exchange that helped both of you survive. But as human societies expanded, we stopped swapping physical goods and abstracted the entire concept of trade into a system of exchange. We eventually assigned massive economic power to this, a heavy, shiny yellow metal. You can't eat gold. It won't keep you warm or shelter you from the rain. It has almost no survival utility, yet entire empires were built to hoard it. Eventually, the world abandoned the gold standard entirely. We transitioned to fiat paper money, controlled by central banks and backed by nothing physical in a vault. Money turns into economic power strictly because of our collective psychological agreement to follow the rules of the system. For decades after World War II, those rules ensured prosperity was broadly shared. As the American economy expanded, the middle-class workers saw their living standards rise in tandem with corporate success. This chart tracks worker productivity and median pay. For decades, they moved together, until 1980, when the lines separate. Workers produced more value, but wages flatlined. That capital was redirected to top earners. While typical wages stalled, CEO pay exponentially multiplied. This structural divergence broke the reality of the American dream. Statistically, a worker born today is much less likely to out-earn their parents than previous generations. We feel this shift every time we check out at the grocery store. Corporations frequently claim that supply chain shocks and natural disasters are the only factors driving up these prices. During the recent avian flu crisis, farmers culled millions of birds to contain the outbreak. The industry narrative was clear. A supply crisis made high egg prices unavoidable. But the financial data from the largest egg producer shows a different story. In the middle of this supposed crisis, their corporate profits and shareholder dividend payouts tripled. They didn't just cover their costs, they used the shortage to increase their margins. This is the result of extreme industry consolidation. Because four giant firms control the vast majority of the grocery market, they can raise prices without fear of being undercut by a competitor. Much of what we experience as unavoidable inflation is actually opportunistic corporate profit-taking. For those surviving on $25,000 a year, the economic rules are even more predatory. Since the 1990s, the government has increasingly relied on private corporate middlemen to distribute welfare benefits. Taxpayers fund these programs, but the corporations administering them are incentivized to maximize their own profit. This creates a system that prioritizes cutting costs over providing aid to citizens. For-profit dialysis clinics illustrate the human cost. The government pays these centers for every treatment they provide. Because a healthy patient who receives a transplant stops generating daily billing, these clinics have a financial incentive to keep people on dialysis machines rather than referring them for surgery. Some middlemen intentionally complicate applications to deny health coverage and reduce their own workload. Others actively sweep databases to intercept Social Security funds meant for disabled foster children, diverting money intended for orphans into state accounts. The modern poverty economy operates as an extraction machine, designed to capture taxpayer wealth by maintaining a cycle of dependency for vulnerable citizens. At $25,000 a year, the economy is a trap of compounding friction. High rent far from your job forces you to rely on an aging car, where a single repair can trigger a cycle of predatory debt and permanent financial instability. For the elite earner making $25 million a year, that friction disappears. Wealth is held in compounding assets like stocks and real estate, which are taxed at dramatically lower rates than a typical paycheck. This extreme level of wealth allows for total physical and psychological isolation. You can purchase your way out of crime, noise, failing infrastructure, and every other stressor that defines life for the working class. These two realities exist within the exact same system, proving that the economic rules function differently depending on your income bracket. For the last 40 years, our economic policies have been fine-tuned to produce exactly these results. The system is functioning with brutal, perfect efficiency. Complex tax codes, corporate monopolies, and privatized safety nets are not natural forces. They are deliberate policy choices. Every part of this machine, from the value of the dollar to the rules of the market, rests on our collective trust and participation. Because the economy is a constructed reality, we possess the power to change it. If we stop participating in the myths used to exploit us, we can rewrite the rules to demand shared prosperity once again.